Hi everyone, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you to this session today. It's so good to see that so many of you have followed our invitation to this session and that you are joining today's webinar about modular process automation with the Xenon and MTP. My name is Bernhard Korten, and if I'm not driving the ambulance car in my spare time, I take care about making your life easier in the life sciences and process industry with our software platform Xenon. As we really have a tight time schedule, let's start right away. What do we have prepared for you guys today? We have prepared a journey from generating MTP files towards orchestrating them and see a real control system, and finally a real customer project of a big end user in Germany. So we take care about the following questions. What are the new trends in the process automation? What is this module type package everybody is speaking about, the MTP? And how does Xenon support it? We have a really nice live demo. We will show live how easy this could work to integrate some equipment. And of course, this is not just some slides and some theoretic standard. MTP is real. We have realized already a big project with a large end user in Germany based in application of laboratory and mini plant. And then, of course, we will have some time to answer some questions you might have. Please take care. If you have some questions, put them in the chat. I will take care about them at the end of the session. Today, speaking with me, it's a very international event, I have to say. Speakers from Italy, Germany, and Austria. Let me start with my two colleagues based in Salzburg at the COPA-DATA headquarters. It's Herbert Oberauer and Matthias Lackner. Both are from the professional services team. That are our masterminds and developers behind our MTP software solution. Good to have you on board, guys. Let me move on with Christoph Franzke. Also good to have you on board, Christoph. He's sitting in Germany. He's a senior technical consultant for key accounts, taking care about large customers also in this area. Good to have you here. And finally, my nice colleague from Italy, Giuseppe Minin. Together with Giuseppe, we take care about the life sciences and process industry at COPA-DATA headquarters. Giuseppe is also a member of the ISPE Special Interest Group for Pharma 4.0 in the Plug and Produce Working Group, and also in GAMP Italy in the Connected Machines Working Group. Giuseppe, now I think it's time to hand over. We start right away with the next topic. So what does the modular production mean? What is the current trends? And of course, please explain us what is this MTP everybody is talking about. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Bernhard, and also a warm welcome from my side. It's a pleasure for me introducing what I consider one of the most interesting evolution in process automation, MTP and modular production. But in order to answer to this question, let me start with a funny picture. Maybe someone of you, where we were teenagers in the 80s, we remember that kind of computers. I have here my first computer. Maybe you remember the Commodore 64 was my first computer. That time you remember the integrating monitors, floppy disk or printers wasn't an easy task because of dedicated interfaces, specific communication protocols, and of course every vendor has a different integration, different communication. So when you have to buy a new printer for the Commodore 64, you need to remember, okay, what is now the current protocols I have to buy, I have to use, and so on. But if we go now to the current desk we have in our offices, the situation is completely different. When I'm back in the office, I simply plug my USB cable on my laptop, and automatically the laptop recognizes the monitor, the web camera, the keyboard, the mouse, all the peripherals I have. So independently from the vendor, so independently from what is the monitor brand or the keyboard or the webcam. We call it plug and play. So thanks to this, we have a real interoperability. If now, with this example in mind, we move to the process automation, and we see this picture we see here on the screen, we see our classical stainless steel process equipment. How this is done from the automation point of view? Typically, we have a top-down engineering approach. So basically, we have a centralized system based on DCS or based on SCADA and PLC, where we connect from a single control system all the equipment. And typically, we have fixed connection, piping, and so on between different systems. And typically, we have vendor-dependent automation. So interoperability is not an easy task. But of course, if we now move from classical approach to the new trend, new request in biotech, and for example, in cell and gene therapies, where we need small batch size, where we need individualized drug substance, for example, and so different process flow according to the different drug substance we need to produce, we need a different approach. So I think this picture well represents the current evolution in biotech. So we have today the ballroom concept, we have today mobile production model. So if we compare from the right to the left side, from the right side, we see that we simply cut the equipment in pieces, and every piece is autonomous. So as a local automation, as a local control system, and we are able to simply plug and unplug module in order to recombine as I prefer my line. According to this, what is modular plant engineering? So according to this picture. So basically, if we see here our standardized process module, and every module like the filter we see here, the bioreactor and the doser system is a standardized process module. So we divide the processing steps as we see here. We create a common behavior, a common interfacing between different modules from mechanical point of view and from the digital point of view, of course, so that we can easily create a sort of orchestration on top of this module. And the orchestration level is able to detect what module I have under me and is able to read the information coming from the modules, and is also able to command every module he has. We call it exactly orchestration. But once the batch is finished, it's quite easy for me to rearrange, readapt the modules I need to use. So let's imagine I am a process engineer and I need to create my specific workflow. So I simply rent from my, let me call it, catalog of module I have in my facility. I use the module I need, I plug it, I orchestrate it, and I start producing. This is essentially the idea we have. According to this concept, Namur, an association we will see later on, states that we have a sensible reduction of time to market by 50%, reduction of production cost by 40%, but very important is the increasing of flexibility, as you can see here, 80% more in flexibility. Let's imagine the process engineer that created this production flow, and now he needs to move the production from this R&D lab to a different location, maybe in another country, or maybe you need to increase the size of the production. So it's quite easy with this modular concept to unplug a system, mount a new system, and then send the modules or buy directly there the modules because it is definitely interoperable. Of course, this is the advantages, but we also have challenges because this approach, of course, has some challenges. First of all, is the interoperability. So independently from the vendor of the automation, every module must speak a common communication language, and every module should offer a common description of the capabilities he has. This is, of course, a must in this case. And second point, the process orchestration. We can't afford to ask for an automation team every time we need to rearrange the orchestration, the module configuration. This is, of course, another important topic. So we need an easy approach for the process orchestration, for example, using graphical tools. And then, as we are in life sciences, as we are in a regulated environment, we need to take care to an important aspect like data integrity. So collecting electronic records and store in a proper way electronic records in my process orchestration. And of course, we need also to comply with the GMP regulation. So documentation and validation is also another important topic. And last, it's important also to consider the request we receive from the market, from our customer, like, shall I reuse my existing module in this new approach of modular production? So are we able to take care to brownfield configuration, to brownfield applications? In order to answer to these challenges, let's now answer to the second question. So what is MTP, modular type package? And let me say that the MTP is exactly the foundation of a modular plant engineering, according to this plug and produce approach. So basically, MTP is a formal description of production module, vendor independent, so independently from the vendor. This concept has been defined by and promoted by Namur, an association of company in the process industry, process automation industry, and today is an international norm you can use, of course. We don't have time, of course, to explain the complete norm in this webinar. Let me simply offer you a quick overview to the three main components we have in the MTP. The first one is the PEA. So we see here the production modules we have here on the lower level. For example, one type of PEA is this dozer. This dozer offers me 3 different services, and it is basically the capability as this dozer. Then we have a bioreactor, for example, and so on. Every module is plugged to this POL. POL stands for Process Orchestration Layer. And this level is responsible for connecting every pair. Orchestrating means connect together in a process flow the modules, and then start the application. And the third component is the MTP description, because the MTP description is exactly the modeling of every module in order to be able to understand what is the capability of the module. So 3 components: MTP description, PEA, and POL. Let's start with the MTP description. So the MTP manifest is also called MTP manifest. It is basically an XML file that describe the functions, the procedure the module can perform. Then what process data I can share, including the critical process parameter, for example, I need to share with the POL. And then how should I look like? So when the POL import me, how can represent my PIND, for example, and then other information like alarms and so on. The file can be easily interpreted by a computer because it is an XML file. The second component is the PEA, so the process equipment assembly. So what is it? It is basically a mechanical component. Then we have a local automation because the PEA is independent from the POL, from the other. So we have a PLC, for example, here. And then the PEA, as we said, can provide specific services according to the capability. And then we can have a local HMI in order to monitor and control locally the PEA. And then we have the communication with the POL, so an OPC UA communication with the upper level system. And of course, we have the MTP description, so the MTP file. And here we have, from the engineering point of view, a very important difference between the centralized approach and this modular approach. Here we have an engineer that is responsible for the automation for the POL only. he doesn't know, he doesn't care what is the final destination of the module. He simply creates the automation and the services and the MTP description for this specific file. And he created documentation, and he can pre-validate the module in order to be delivered as a package to the pool. This is essentially the idea of the modular engineering. The third component is the pool, the process orchestration layer. It is a software platform where you can import and orchestrate the pair together, and then you can finally monitor and control every pair using, in this case, OPC UA, so you can control, command every specific services. And then important, in order to comply with the data integrity, it should be able to generate and store in a proper way electronic records, like batch information, process value, alarms, and audit trail. From the engineering point of view, the process orchestration layer, of course, must be managed by a process engineer and not by an automation team, as I said before. So should be driven, this process should be driven by a graphical tool, an easy tool. And of course, this tool should also provide me documentation in order to create the right documentation for my orchestration layer. So summarizing what we have here. We have here the engineering steps divided, as you can see, between module engineering. So we have here an engineer that provide the automation for this specific module, and so the PLC programming, for example, and then of course generate the MTP file. And then separated, as you can see here, we have another people that is responsible for the plant engineering. In this case, these people, using this nice picture from Dresden Technical University, has, for example, to use 4 modules, module A, B, and C, different PLC types, as you can see here, but what they have in common the MTP description, and they have in common the communication via OPC UA. So is able to plug every module, to orchestrate the modules, and finally to produce the application. So this is exactly the engineering steps we have to do. But now is the time to understand how a company like COPA-DATA is able to support MTP and process automation, because the COPA-DATA since the foundation believes strongly in openness, interoperability, and hardware agnostic. So now I want to ask to Bernard, to my colleague, how COPA-DATA support modular process automation and MTP. Bernard, and over to you.
Giuseppe, thank you very much for giving us a nice introduction about process industry in general, process automation, what are new trends, where are they moving to, and giving us a nice introduction. I know it's a big standard, but basically understand what is MTP and why this is so important and why it helps us in this area. So as you probably know, COPA-DATA and Xenon, we are now on the market since more than 30 years. And from the beginning, it was our goal to really help our customers and make your lives easier. And one part of this goal, of course, is a modular automation concept. So we are working on modular automation since the beginning when we started developing the software platform Xenon. So for us, this is now the logical consequence that we also take a closer look at the MTP standard, and that we also provide a really convenient solution for you guys out there. So what have we prepared? What have we done to help you to really jump on the train of MTP? We have developed an MTP suite, and the MTP suite covers all the different tasks you might have during the entire MTP lifecycle. Let me start with the MTP editor first, which is kind of graphical tool helping you designing your, as we know now, your MTP template files for your equipment, for your skids, for your package units. So also for end users and for equipment providers, this might be helpful because equipment providers, you might deliver or might deliver in the future MTP ready equipment. So it's easy by using this MTP editor to get this MTP description ready also for your equipment, but also for end users. It could be a nice benefit to check MTP files that have been delivered with your equipment, modify MTP files, open it, edit them. In the same time, which is, we all know, very important also in pharmaceutical life sciences, there has to be some kind of validation. And also as a start, if you want to start doing MTP development, we have included a really cool validation service, which is done live during the editing in the editor. So you get live notifications if there is any error, if there is any warning, if there is something not compliant to 2658, and you immediately can fix it right away. After that, as we know, we have some PEAs. So we have some physical equipment we then want to integrate. And this equipment is based on an MTP template we have now generated in the editor. Now we create instances for each of my physical equipment. And those instances then are connected in the process orchestration layer, which again is a very nice graphical interface, helping you by just simply drag and drop your equipment to the system. You logically can connect it. You can design the HMI layout if you want, and then you just click a button, and basically you can start your control system and you can start monitoring your equipment. Additionally, out of that, of course, we also provide a kind of software suite for equipment suppliers. As we know, COPA-DATA and Xenon, we're on the market since more than 30 years, and a lot of customers of us are global leading machine builders. Some examples in the life sciences, pharmaceutical areas like Groninger, Haro, Höfliger, Bausch + Ströbel, Scan, Syntegon, isolators. So there's different kind of machines which are using Xenon locally as HMI on their machines. So yes, we also can support you guys as equipment suppliers. We have the right software suite for you for local monitoring and control. And in the end, you might ask yourself, I have a lot of existing equipment. Do I really need to buy new equipment to be compliant to MTP? No, you don't, because we developed as well an MTP gateway. So it's a very easy way to integrate your legacy protocols, your legacy hardware, your legacy equipment you might have. But now let me move on with an important topic, which is the validation. The validation is included in the MTP editor. So if you don't have this editor already, we have created a solution also for you guys, because there is an online service available which is free of charge. So everybody can use it, and you can check your MTP files you have developed on your own, you have gotten from a third-party provider. So it's very easy. You just put in first name, last name, email address, then you upload your MTP files. Then there is a checkbox if you allow us to use or to have a look at your MTP files or not. Otherwise, we just delete it right away. So we want to help PA suppliers to really get their equipment MTP ready, but also end users checking quality of existing MTP files, for instance. If you just follow the URL, presentation will be sent out afterwards as well. You get access to the online validation tool. Simply upload it, then you get a validation, a completed message. In this case, the buffer was validated. There is some warnings, and then you get a really nice HTML formatted report sent via email. Yeah, but now let's take a closer look how you can integrate your existing stuff you might have. It's still working. Why to buy a new stuff? You can use your already existing environment. For that, we have created the MTP gateway. The MTP gateway basically is a nice possibility. You are hardware and software independent, so you might use your Windows system or even a Linux device, which can be hardware from Siemens, Turk, or other providers, or Phoenix Context, for instance. So you're very independent. The system is connecting to your legacy protocols, to your legacy hardware. We have an own soft PLC based on IEC 61131 language. And with the MTP editor, we know now you create your template file, and in the same time, it is creating logic code to be run on such a device, which is connecting, which gives you the possibility to have the MTP state model included, connecting your legacy protocols, your legacy tags, and also prepare the device to be connected to the process orchestration layer via OPC UA protocol. So it's a really nice, easy way to integrate existing equipment. A very simple MTP architecture could look like this. So we have here 3 different types of PEAs of equipment in use, directly connected to hardware. The second one might have a local HMI. All of them are coming with an MTP template. So you simply integrate it, connect it. And the third one might be an existing equipment connected via MTP gateway. And in the orchestration, there is a central server where you also can do engineering with a database and reporting included. Now, of course, you can extend if you like those architecture, because we do that for large customer projects since years. So you easily can extend it to have a redundancy, seamless redundancy on a central basis. Then there can be a central data storage as well to store your historical process, alarms and event data. There is a reporting possibility connecting to the data storage, but also connecting other upper layer systems, like if there is a central historian from OSIPI, if there is an ERP of SAP, or connecting to an MES like Verum X by the use of MSI interface, again, standard module included in Xenon, it's standard connectors. Also here we have a solution for you. Additionally, you might use some additional clients, also no problem here, and an additional workstation to do engineering also in your office, or the orchestrating stuff in your office. All right. By the way, I was asked by marketing to do some advertisement as well. We are on the ACHEMA 2022. Would be a pleasure for me to meet you there, August 22 till August 26, Hall 11. So we have a lot of PEA suppliers also in our booth. You can try the orchestration. We can have a chat there. All right. I think it's enough with the slides. Let's have a look at the real stuff. What you see here is the MTP Studio, from MTP editing, creation of MTP file, to orchestration and starting a real control system. So we will show this live now, and now I'm happy to introduce Matthias Lackner, my colleague. He will take over. Matthias, please show us what we have done.
Thank you, Bernhard. So let me quickly bring up Xenon here. So what I will show you today is a brief introduction into our MTP Studio. When you start up the application, you can first select where you want to store your data. This can either be an existing Xenon database, which is of course installed when you install Xenon, or also any other SQL database server. For now, I'm going to stick with my existing one here, and I just hit connect. So now I'm good to go. And you see, we divided the application into different parts, which means you can perform different tasks with it. Let me right jump into the MTP editor. With this editor, you can either create a completely new MTP file or also open an existing one. So for now, I will go with a simple buffer, and right away, you will see some basic information about this thing. But we are, for our demo, more interested in the services of this MTP. So such a MTP consists of services. They are at the heart of the MTP, and they more or less describe the high-level functionality which is available by the device. Such a service has procedures, and both the services and the procedures are controlled by parameters. Let me just maximize this here. Of course, you can edit everything in here just by selecting it, but you can also add something. So for example, let's add a parameter here. You will then have to select the data type. Such data types are predefined by the MTP specification. So for our demo, I will choose a simple analog display here and give our new parameter a name. So you see our parameter popped up here, and you also see the data type of it. This data type, this analog display or ANA view here, is in reality a data assembly. Such data assemblies are also at the core of MTP. They are following their specification, and everything which you see here is basically linked to such a data assembly. They are required to describe what this parameter is now doing. You can either edit them by following this variables tab over here. Or since everything is linked together in MTP, you can also use our navigation feature. So in this case, the application switched the tabs for you. We are now on the variables tab, and our demo data assembly is now pre-selected. Here you see a list of all the data assemblies. As I said, this is our new created demo parameter, or the data assembly which is linked to it. And since this is selected, you also see all of its properties here. Those are not yet the real variables which you will have in your Xenon project later on. They are stored somewhere else, also defined by MTP this way, and you can find them again by following the links here. So we switch tabs again. We are now in the server tab, and you see we have exactly one OPC UA server over here with a lot of data items. Of course, if you create such an MTP file or edit an existing one, it is sometimes quite hard to get everything right. Therefore, we have the previously mentioned live validation in here. So if I configure something invalid, you will see an error right here. The good thing about that is that you not only see this here for the selected item, but also in higher level entities. So this means, for example, on the server level, we will also see the same error. And if we change here to another data item, which has no errors in it, then we can simply go to the server, click on the header here, and this will lead us to the faulty data item. So this is really easy to use if you want to correct a long list of data items, for example, or any other entities in the MTP. This makes it quite convenient to find the errors actually. Of course, you can also edit the HMI representation of such an MTP file. So we also provide you the ability to draw something, resize them, of course. You could actually also add other ports here and also connect them. In this case, I can't connect those two ports here because, again, the application prevents you from doing something invalid. So the red bar at the bottom shows you why this is not possible at the moment. So you can just do things which are okay to do. And again, if I maybe just put another visual object here, then you see, again, we have a live validation. This is for all the entities which you saw before. But if you want to see a list, a complete list of all the errors and warnings, you can also click this button over here at any time. And this will generate a validation report for you. So you get some basic information about the MTP together with a detailed list of all the problems which were found by the application. And as Bernhard mentioned before, in addition to that, we also have this online validation tool now available. So you can upload your own MTP files and get such a validation report like this one, of course, for free. But enough of that. Let me move over to show you how you can actually import such an MTP into Xenon. So I switch here to the Manage MTP and SOT task. And in here, you see, I already have one MTP inside our application. You also see this here in Xenon already. When I now import or load another MTP here, then you see you get a nice representation of the HMI view of this MTP together with some basic information. And again, something like the services and parameters of this MTP. Those are quite important. You will see them multiple times in our demo. As I said before, they are at the heart of MTP. So to actually get this now into Xenon, all we have to do is just to click on import. So what this is doing now is that it is creating a smart object template in Xenon. And not only that, it also creates all the entities which are required to represent this MTP in Xenon. So this creates variables, screens, symbols, frames, and so on. And in just a moment, it should be ready. And you see, we have here now our buffer imported. So we have our templates ready, but now we also want to represent our real world devices. So therefore, I create instances of those templates. And I just want to call them a little bit different for demo later on. And so that our live demo later on is working, I also have to change here the OPC UA namespace index. So then I can save it. And basically now I have my instances defined. All I can do now is put the puzzle pieces together. So I change to the process orchestration, and in here, nothing is in here. So I create a new POL project. In this POL project, I simply use my new instances, drag them here on the canvas, and then you see why those parameters which I mentioned before are so important. Because now you can just connect one PA to another PA by just drawing lines. And also these PAs provide ports for MS Flow. Therefore, I will also connect this one here. What you see here is just a logical representation. So you connect your PAs here together, but you can also edit the HMI view, which is what you will see later on in Xenon. So let me just arrange this here that it looks good. And then let's start the generation. What this is doing now is that it, of course, asks me if I really want to do this now, because this will modify the Xenon project. But this is okay, I want to do this. But now it is going to create the full project for you. So you see, it's extremely easy to put together a production line, and just with a few clicks, you hit generate and everything is basically done for you. While this is generating, this will take some time. I will switch places with my colleague Herbert, who will tell you more about the resulting Xenon project. Thanks.
Thank you, Matthias, and also welcome from my side. So while this poll project is generated to the Xenon project, this takes about 1 minute or so. I will give you some more information about this MTP template project. So it's a Xenon project with a basic framework with navigation, with all kind of Xenon objects like variable screens, frames, and so on, and also templates for archives, templates for reaction matrices, for batch configuration, and so on. So this MTP template project is the second major component of our MTP integration into Xenon. You can have here as many project copies as required. So this means if we have, for example, a production area with 3 production lines, you will then generate for each production line own POL project. This you would then generate in a separate Xenon project. And you can, of course, activate there the network feature, meaning server client model, or also the redundancy feature. So you have then a control room where you can monitor or also control all those lines speaking with MTP. So as you can see, the poll project was generated now. We have here this stereo and the buffer. We have here the MTP template. So the MTP template project is on the one hand the place where the poll project is generated to, but it also serves for configuration in order to define how the smart object templates, which are generated by the MTP import, look like. So we have here the smart object template called MTP template. This is a kind of master template which contains all possible assembly types which the MTP standard defines. So for example, we have Xenon objects like screens, prepared for it, symbols, variables, and so on. We can open the screen, for example. This is the process screen for the analog drive. You have here the possibility, so the customer has here the possibility to, for example, arrange things, also to add signals, maybe to implement the corporate identity and so on. The only thing what he has to do afterwards is to export this changed Xenon object to a given file path, and the next time when the Xenon MTP import is triggered, then it will have then the new style. So this template project concept is also implemented on the project side. This means, for example, for archives, we have templates available, and also for the batch control, the customer can here modify his things he needs. And the next time, for example, when the poll project is generated, then it will have the requested feature. So when the poll project is finished, it also modifies screens, navigation screens, and creates archives, creates OPC UA drivers, and so on. You see here also the generated main screen, the main view. This looks more or less the same like Matthias did the layout here. We will now simply do here some copy and paste action for some small animation icons. I think this should be okay. Save it. And while I'm starting the service engine and compiling the project, I will tell you now a little bit more about the batch configuration which was automatically created. So we have here for each PA, we have created a batch unit. And for each service, which is defined within the MTP, a batch phase was created. And for each service procedure, a control strategy was created. We maybe can already switch to the Xenon runtime. No, it takes a little bit. So at the meantime, I will show you also the OPC UA drivers which have been created. Those are pointing now in this demo to a local simulation. I can explain it afterwards a bit, where this OPC UA driver connects to our MTP gateway, and to this MTP gateway below there is a simulation realized via Xenon logic. So we have here now the Xenon service engine. You can see here the steerer and the buffer. It's the same view with the same layout as shown before. We have here actors like motors attached to it, or valves, and also logical, the services connected to this unit. Also, this is also done for the buffer. We have here the visual objects, where when we click on it, we have here this control screen as shown with the analog drive before. We can, for example, also manually control them by starting them via this screen, and also monitor the signals coming from the PLC. This is also realized by every other data assembly type for the valves, and also for the steerer for the services. So as you maybe know, MTP, the services are realized by a so-called service state machine, which can be, of course, also manually controlled. We can start here, for example, the service, this steering service. And below the service, you have here all service procedures linked to this service. And when you click on this given service procedure, you have all service parameters linked to the service procedure. We have here the control, the configuration parameter, also a kind of view, and so on. But we do not want to manually control our plant. Instead, we want to do this automatically, and this we do via the batch configuration. So we have here the possibility to open the batch editor. We have here already a master batch recipe imported, available. So this represents more or less the view also on the left. We have here some initialization of variables, starting archives and so on. We have here the steering service of the steerer. It's not a self-completing service procedure. Thus, we have a transition afterwards, where we can say then if the duration of 10 seconds is reached, then this service is completed. Also for the heating service of the buffer, we have here a set point temperature of 55. When it's reached, the service is completed. And last but not least, we have the cleaning service of the steerer, which is a self-completing service procedure. It will automatically complete after 5 seconds. And at the end, the archives are closed. So we start this. Oh, that's not good. This one works. So we switch to this test mode, and we can start this one. Yeah, this is a live demonstration, so sorry for this. As you can see here, I have a service overview where you can see all services. For batch execution, we need to have all services on automatic. We checked it. We can give you now a name for the batch, and we start it. And we can see this steering service is starting for the duration of 10 seconds. You can see the animation I copied and pasted before. After 10 seconds, this one is completed. The buffer takes over the heating service. It will complete after the actual temperature reaches the set point temperature. And finally, the cleaning service will be executed for 5 seconds, and then the batch is closed. There would be a lot of more things to show: the dashboard, trending with Gantt, the audit trail where you can see everything. But unfortunately, we're already running out of time. So I got some signs from my colleagues. So I have to hurry up. So I will now hand over to Christoph Franzke, which is our MTP expert in COPA-DATA Germany. And he will tell you some really cool stuff regarding MTP in the real world. One second, please. Christoph, please.
So let's try if I have control. Yes. Hello. Great to have you here. You made the right decision today to inform yourself about the latest trends in our industry. My name is Christoph Franzke. I'm a senior technical consultant and do work for COPA-DATA Germany, where we had the opportunity to implement the latest technology together with Merck in the last 2 years. Oops. If you look with me at the chemical and pharmaceutical industry today, you'll notice that product life cycles are becoming shorter and shorter. And if you're looking for a solution for easy creation and modification of plant configurations, if you're looking for fast upscaling from laboratory to production, and if you're looking forward to reduce your time to market by 50%, you came to the right place today. Please join me and let's enjoy the next 8 to 10 minutes together and hear about our great success in collaboration with Merck Darmstadt. As said, product life cycles are becoming shorter and shorter. And so Merck was looking for a new solution. They wanted an easy solution to create and modify plant configurations, and they wanted a fast upscaling from laboratory to production. Merck's laboratory building houses approximately 120 fume hoods, equipped with laboratory equipment such as pumps, stirrers, dosing modules, chillers, and all that stuff. And in the past, tests with different modules have been carried out manually, and then later with the use of conventional laboratory control systems, but with a lack in flexibility. And lack in flexibility is not a good thing, especially here, because nowhere else is as much dynamics as in a laboratory. Experiments are rebuilt there almost every day. And this frequent rebuilding affords a lot of time investment and high costs. Modularization based on MTP was the game-changing technology here. The goal was to enable the lab technicians to integrate and automate the required modules themselves and with no need of programming knowledge. Let's have a basic overview of the architecture we implemented to cope with these demands. Basically, we have 3 levels. We have the xenon pole in the center, and we have the modules and equipment below, and the project engineering stations and clients are shown on top here. And to complete this picture, we also have the reporting services, which are here on the right. And for the laboratory equipment, we have used different hardware to transform the lab equipment to MTP-enabled devices. And regardless of the used hardware, we used Xenon Logic as our enabling technology here. With Xenon Logic, we enabled all the lab equipment for the MTP technology, which we used then to easily orchestrate the equipment with our xenon pole. Let's have a look where this great success happens. This is it from the outside, and whoops, this is it from the inside. After the successful completion of a pilot project, we automated the first 60 of 120 fume hoods. A fume hood is what we can see on the left with a glass door in front. And 60 fume hoods already are automated with the xenon pole in this laboratory we're currently looking at right at this moment. And you might think, am I ready for MTP? So if you're not sure whether MTP is for you, let's be honest, you're by means in good company with the Associate Director of Process Development at Merck. At first, he did not even consider MTP. But now, today, we look back at a great collaboration and an even greater success with xenon pole and MTP here in the laboratory field. I said it already, but we'll say it again with a little pride. We have 60 pole with xenon MTP poles up and running here, and we're looking forward to continue our great collaboration in the next years. Now, before time's over, let's look at some screenshots together from the implementation at Merck. I have to drink a little bit. It's dry from talking. So due to the NDA, I'm not allowed to show you everything, but you will get a good overall idea from the following screenshots. Let's go quickly through them. Most of the screens you may already know from the presentation before, maybe just in another look and feel. So just to be clear, all this is automatically generated for you. Just plug and play, including everything like the process overview screen here, including data storage or historian, as you may call it, including alarming and audit trail, chronological event list, all that stuff. We have the process screen here. We have manual equipment control here. we have manual control of the services as shown on the right here. So if it's too fast, the presentation will be sent out to you afterwards and you can have a close look. And we have, of course, the Xenon batch module as we've seen it in the presentation before. Oh yes, this is the chronological event list, and the alarm message list looks kind of the same. And we have an extended trend screen. Like this example here can be modified in color and everything. Just an example to get you a glimpse. So at the end of my presentation, I will sum up the benefits for you. I think you learned about all these benefits already during the presentation so far. We have accelerated time to market. I cannot emphasize this enough. We have, of course, cost savings, and we have a lot of flexibility and all that stuff. So what can you take with you today? I think the most basic message I will give you today at the end of my presentation is we are ready. We are ready for MTP. We are ready for you. And we are far more ready than ever to make your life easier. Thanks for joining in. I'm sure you learned something new today that makes your life easier. Hope you are impressed. Once again, my name is Christoph Franzke. Please do not hesitate to connect with me on Xing or LinkedIn. You can also reach me through sales@COPA-DATA.de. And last but not least, it would also be nice to meet face-to-face in the town where I was born, in Frankfurt, at the Ashema this year in the end of August. Bernhard said it already. Please, let's meet face-to-face. We're looking forward to see you there. And now, thanks for the opportunity to talk with you today about this great topic. I'm hand over to Bernhard. I think we do have the possibility now to have a short Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, we would be happy to answer these live right now. Thank you.
Christoph, thank you very much for giving us some insights about the real project done in Germany at the Merck Darmstadt. Yes, we have some minutes left. We are quite short in time, but there is already some questions in the chat. Please post some questions in there. I'm sorry, because of the time, we will not be able to answer all of the questions. We will get back to you one by one and answer them directly to you. So let me start with the first question by Dorian. What is the relation difference between MTP and PACML with ISA 88? Giuseppe, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, very quickly, because of course it is not a fast answer, but basically from the PACML state model is 88 PACML state model is quite similar to the MTP state model. So there's so few difference between. But what is the main difference, in my opinion, to understand? Because PACML define tags using OPC UA, for example. Also in this case we use OPC UA. But the main difference is that MTP take care of the plug phase. So how I can describe the services of my module, and how can interpret the services I can offer to another system, like in this case the pole. So the description of the services, or the idea of the service description concept, in order to automate the integration. This simplify much more the integration of the equipment comparing to the PACML, where you have a fixed definition of services and tags. I think this is the main advantage. So covering the plug phase of the integration. Okay, that's it for the moment.
Giuseppe, thank you for providing a fast answer to this question. Next question, is the MTP Studio already available, or is it not yet released? Posted by Luisa. Yes, the Studio will be released with the Xenon version 11. This will be at the end of Q2. Then we have, can you also import Xenon also MTP files from other automation vendors? Yes, you can do that. Also posted by Luisa. Thanks for this question. Yeah, that's a goal of these standards, to have really an independent versions of those files. So if you are also compliant in your system with MTP, then of course we also can import, orchestrate them, but also vice versa. So we also can use MTP files of other manufacturers, of course, to orchestrate them and combine them together. That's one basic goal to make this happen by the use of this standard. All right, then we have Another question: Do we use Xenon OPC UA itself, or we need to rely on third party like Capware? Posted by Damesh. Yes, we have an included OPC UA driver and gateway functionality. This is developed by COPA-DATA, so you can use the Xenon functionality with OPC UA. There is no third party required in this area. Then we have another question, which is, do you think you also can use in the future this MTP for kind of a filling machine? I think this is another question for Giuseppe.
Yes, or maybe Christoph, you are if
Christoph,
you want to. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, maybe both. I don't know.
Yeah,
of course, you can use MTP for filling machine. You can use it for package units. I mean, you can even use Xenon Logic on some hardware to connect your toaster or your microwave with MTP. Yeah, that may be an unconventional example, but the idea behind MTP is to be vendor independent. Yeah, you have MTP files for each module, and it doesn't matter what module you use. We have seen at Merck the laboratory, we have small stirrers and small machines and even some mini plant machines, which I was not allowed to show. And we're talking with other customers about very large modules, yeah, maybe large as a truck or as a container. Yeah. So there's no limitation. The MTP file describes your module, no matter what it is. So yes, filling machine, yes, you can do it. Yes. Coffee machine, maybe even also.
But the real game changer is definitely, as I can say today, is in process automation. Exactly, it's the first time where we have this interoperability in process automation thanks to this MTP concept. So we can really create an open DCS architecture in this way,
yes,
including the separation between modular engineering and plant engineering. This approach is definitely a game changer, in my opinion, in process automation.
Absolutely. Completely new possibilities.
Yeah.
So we have a question here from Peter. Is MTP validator available on premises also? Yes. So the validator is included in the MTP editor. So if you have the MTP Studio licensed on the system, this exactly the same service is included, and you can validate your existing files, or it's validated during you edit an MTP. For all of those who don't have an MTP editor, you can use the online service and simply validate it there. There's another question from Peter. To which PLCs can MTP Gateway connect to? Is there a complete list of supported PLCs? Yes, if you know Xenon, there is a broad variety of connectivity possibilities we have in Xenon. So there is more than 300 protocols we support, so you can directly hook up to different kinds of PLCs, but you also could use bus couplers by the use of the Xenon Logic, the soft PLC, and you also could use Profinet, Profibus, and so on. So there is a broad variety, and there is, of course, in the documentation, there is a list which we also can send to you, which are the supported protocols. Is MTP Studio an integrated part of the developer license? Question from Alberto. Thank you for that one. No, it is not included. There will be an own package available, especially for process industry, especially for the MTP and the process orchestration layer. Then again, a question from Peter. Thanks a lot for putting a lot of questions here. Is there any COC sum code for the MTP XML description files to control if there is any modification in it? That's a very good question. And we also have asked at Namur about it. Yes, there have to be something like this in the future, but till now it's not covered in the available parts of the standard, so they are still working on it. But we really expect that something like this has to be in there in the future for sure. Do you prepare a detailed online training? Yes, there will be also an online training available also for MTP. Yes, that's another question. And here we have a nice question. If this MTP concept also can be used on bigger machines like a filling machine, or not just we had the process equipment, but also on filling machines? Yeah, this is an interesting question. If you look further into the future, probably Christoph, you can take this question.
Yeah, of course. It's good to have so much questions. It's good that you all not just attend, but to interact with us. That's great. Let's get in contact and talk about this topic. Of course, MTP is not bound to a specific size of a module. Yeah. If we talk about these PEAs, they can be everything. Yeah, they can be as small as the units we have in the laboratory or the R&D department, but you can also have a huge modules like a container with an integrated system. So there's no rules for modularization. You can orchestrate all these modules from small to large in one Xenon Pol.
Okay, Christoph, thank you. So do I understand right? Basically, it could also be a coffee machine. You could automate.
Yeah, could be your coffee machine. Maybe we should have a chat over it. Yes, and connect it. Yeah, like with the MTP gateway. Would be nice to control the services.
Okay, so I think that's a good point to get to the next question, because the question was, my equipment doesn't support MTP. Do I need to buy all new equipment? Question from Raymond. Thank you for that one. No, actually, you don't have to buy all new equipment. As we have shown also in the presentation today, there is the possibility to use our MTP gateway to get your good old working, to say it in that way, or legacy systems to be MTP ready or MTP compliant. So we also have a solution for that one. Does Xenon SCADA has trial version which can be tested with different PLCs? Yes, of course. We also have a demo. You can download it also on our webpage. Register, download a trial version, get in touch with us, basically send us an email. There is possibilities to do some tests, and we also can provide you, if you have the opportunity, you want to test some MTP files, you want to orchestrate, we also can provide you with a test system in this area. There's another interesting question. You mentioned that the Pol is capable of doing central historian. So what type of data storage or what possibilities you have in this area? Thank you for this question, Rick. So probably Giuseppe, this is one for you.
So of course, this is an interesting question, because in the process orchestration layer, it's important to have a data storage. So beside the orchestration, the monitoring, and all the control of the system, in GMP regulated industry, it's very important to store the data in a proper way, as I said. The funny story is that every module offers the process value or the information you need to be stored automatically when you import it. And so that automatically the historian is configured when you create the orchestration application, so that you don't need to configure an historian, because it's automatically created during the creation of the application. So, and then you can store the data in an internal binary file, is binary database in Xenon. You can store your data in a centralized SQL server, or you can store your data in a MongoDB data storage we also provide. So 3 different possibilities. And then, very important, you can also share the data with the, as Bernard mentioned in the architecture. You can share the data with OSIPI, maybe using OPC UA connection. You can share data with using REST API, or you can also, for example, connect directly to PASEX using the MSI interface, for example, and sending, for example, the GMP exception directly to PASEX. So you can freely select your preferred integration.
Yeah, thank you, Giuseppe. So also here there is quite some possibilities to store your process, alarm, and event data. I have a final question here for now. Where could I get support for this software in Mexico? Yes, we have also 30 subsidiaries around the world, so you can get in touch with them. The next subsidiary for Mexico is in Princeton, New Jersey, and they can reach out to you or just get in touch with them. Last chance to put any questions in the chat. If there is no question for now, take the chance, contact us at mtp@COPA-DATA.com. So I think that's the end of the presentation. Thank you for joining our web session today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your interest. Let's do some modular automations and modular engineering together. Take care. Have a good day and bye-bye.